Yes, the meeting is now being recorded.
Very good. Good morning, everyone. Happy New Year. I'd like to welcome you to the January 6th Finance Committee meeting of the State Bar. As a reminder, this meeting is being recorded. And I would ask our committee coordinator, Mimi Harvey, to please sort of call the roll so we can get started officially. Mimi?
Broughton. Noel.
Here.
Soel.
Here?
Tony.
Present.
We have a quorum.
Very good. Next on the agenda is the call for public comment. I just would like to remind folks that if you are interested in providing public comments, there's a raise your hand function in the Zoom application that will allow you to be recognized. I will do so, and that you would have, if you are calling in by phone, there's a *9 function that will allow you to get in the queue to be recognized for public comment. And just based on our general sort of practice as a committee, participants generally have about 3 minutes to make their comment remarks. Good to see you, Mr. Broughton. We will, Ms. Harvey, just acknowledge that Mr. Broughton is here now as well. Thank you. Do we have, I think we have one member that, or one individual that I'm aware of that would like to make public comment, and that is Mr. Hill. Is he in the queue? Do you see him, Ms. Harvey?
Yes, I do see him in the queue.
All right. Mr. Hill, Happy New Year to you. And you have 3 minutes, please.
Hi, good morning, Mr. Solon. Thank you very much. Happy New Year to you all. I just wanted to confirm that you constructed notice of my intent to move forward. As I indicated last year, I was happy to see that there was, I don't know, some implicit movement, I don't know. But from my perspective, it's now 2023, and I'm still aggrieved. So from that perspective, I really do want to also talk to you because I hope that you've also understood that I'm giving constructive notice of Liz Pendens as well. There's an argument there because I've asked for constructive trust. So under that, with your knowledge, you've received notice of Liz Pendens and Clouded Title. So I look forward to hearing from you in the future or not. Thank you for my time.
Very good, Mr. Hill. I am going to make the presumption that the staff is aware of the documentation that Mr. Hill is referencing, and that they will be acting sort of accordingly to address the issues that may be raised in that documentation. Is that a fair assessment?
Yes.
Okay, very good. Mimi, others in the awaiting public comment?
I do not see any other hands at this time.
Very good. Okay, I think we'll move on with the agenda to the chair's report. And just for the members of the committee, do know that we have a discussion item today, which is to discuss our budget. And that is the main sort of focus of our committee conversation today. However, in order to have, I think, the full conversation that we need to have, we need to go into closed session first. And so, normally it would be, I think, our practice that we go into closed session after we're in open session. But in this particular instance, we're going to need to go into closed session first. And then we'll come back from closed session and have our discussion item around the recommendations that we need to make accordingly related to our budget, because that will be a discussion topic or an action topic, actually, for our meeting on January, for our full board meeting on January 19th and 20th. Okay. And so, Mr. Tony, please. You're on mute, Mr. Tony.
Thank you. Happy New Year. Chair Sol, could you let us know what the basis for the closed session is, what the exemption or reason is for it, please?
There are some matters that we've discussed in closed session previously, Mr. Tony, that have some fiscal impacts. And we need to continue to have those discussions in closed session because of the fiscal impact that is related to the budget, because they're already closed session items, and we need to keep those items in closed session, even though there is a fiscal impact relative to them.
Okay, but could you at least explain to the public what?
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Not to discuss it in public, but to at least identify.
Yes, I will. And I just want to make sure Louisa has the closed session link gone out just to members. And I would just in moving forward with our agenda, I would say we'll get ready to go into closed session, and that's pursuant to Government Code Section 1126C, subsection 2. The Finance Committee will move to closed session to consider items listed on the closed session agenda. And are we ready to do that?
You should have all received the closed session link.
Okay, very good. I misinterpreted what you were asking me, Mr. Tony. I appreciate you helping to guide me there a little bit.
Yeah, I'm sorry here. What it is that there are certain things that are permitted to be discussed in closed session.
Correct.
And things like certain contracts, personnel, certainly the items dealing with some of the details, confidential details of the building sale
Yes.
that we've discussed. So I'm just trying to figure out, what is it about these closed items make them closed?
Leah, you want to help me with that just so I can, or Aline, just.
Yeah, maybe Aline, we have them noted on the agenda. They are related to various potential litigation. I don't know, Aline, if you can help me.
Yeah, sure. I'd be happy to answer. The discussion is going to be limited to the impact of some ongoing activity that's currently being considered and discussed in closed session. And you will see that it's posted as the audit of closed office of Chief Trial Counsel files, and then also certain disciplinary proceeding. There are certain components relating to those discussions that drive the fiscal budgetary considerations. All of the budgetary discussion will be held in open session. This is to provide some confidential information that drives the cost that we cannot appropriately have in open session. So it's a limited discussion to explain to the Finance Committee the drivers on some of the fiscal considerations that are before you and will be discussed in open session.
Thank you very much for the clarification. I appreciate it. And I'm ready to move to closed session. Thank you.
Very good. All right, the link's been sent out, Louisa? Very good. We'll see everyone in closed session. Wait just a second to give Mr. Broughton, not Mr. Broughton, well, I saw Mr. Broughton. I think Mr. Knowles and Leah, I don't see either of them just yet. There's Mr. Knoll. There's Leah. So the Finance Committee is back in open session and report that there are no reportable action items coming out of our closed session. And with that, I'd like to proceed to the items that are on our agenda for the open session. And that is one item, which is discussion of the 2023 preliminary budget. And I think Ms. Montoya Chico, I think you are up
Yes.
to that presentation, correct?
Yes, it is my turn. I did prepare a PowerPoint, so I'm going to share my screen. So please do let me know when you see it.
There it is.
Yep, you're good, Araceli.
We're good? Okay. So I'm going to start the discussion of the preliminary budget, and this is kind of how I'm going to format this discussion. I'm going to first start by touching over, give an overview of the key issues that are impacting today and that we had to consider when we were building the budget, particular to the general fund and the admissions fund, which is in a pretty significant deficit position. I'm going to go into a little bit of detail of what we did to develop the budget, and we developed a couple different scenarios, so I'll go over those. And then finally, I'm going to go into the feedback that we are looking from this committee, the guidance on several issues that we'll discuss, and those are the ones that I did document in the agenda. So first,
Araceli, I just want to
Yes.
say, just in light of the time and the desire to spend most of our time on the feedback, maybe to just, keep that in mind, go quickly.
Okay, I'll definitely go rather quickly through some of the slides. So I'll first start off just highlighting some of our general fund key issues. And these are issues that we had to consider when we were trying to develop an initial budget, right? So, as Leah had mentioned earlier, we've only gotten one fee increase in the past 25 years, right? Our costs are consistently going up year over year, but only one fee increase in 25 years has put us in a very, very tight financial position. We have an MOU where our salaries, there's a 5% annual salary increase for all of our staff who meets expectations or above. And that everybody gets that every year unless they're at the maximum of their salary position scale. As some of you guys, I think all of us are aware now, we recently negotiated a new MOU that includes a 3-year COLA. And the COLA for 2023 was 5% for non-attorneys and 10% for senior and supervising attorneys, and then 2.5% thereafter for each year in 2024 and 2025. This is very significant to us. For 2023, the bar-wide impact was an additional $4.5 million to personnel expenses. So, that put us in, and most of that, a large portion of that $4.5 million is in the general fund, right? So that put even more strain on our general fund spending that we had to develop. We've talked about, the uncertainty of selling our San Francisco building. It is up for sale officially now as of December, but we don't know when we're going to be able to sell it. We don't know how much we will be able to generate from the sale. The real estate market for commercial property is just not where it was late in 2021, early 2022. The value of our property has decreased 15 to 20% from where we had appraised it earlier in 2022. Or late 2021. So, this is a big question. How much will we get when we sell it, and if we sell it? We have, as we discussed, a lot of growing IT needs. We have transitioned, and we are, continuing to transition into cloud and enterprise platforms. So we are seeing the impact of those costs in 2022, and it's going to continue into 2023. And if you recall, in our 2022 budget that was adopted, IT investments in IT infrastructure was a key component of our budget. So we're now starting to see the effects of those costs, of those investments. there's been, the one-time significant expenditures that we've had to incur for the discipline case audits, investigations, and the data Odyssey data breach that happened earlier or in 2022. So that significantly impacted the general fund. Those are unanticipated expenses we incurred. Really quickly on admissions fund issues, there's been a decreasing trend in exam applicants. So obviously this is impacting our revenues that we've been incurring. On the other side of that, our testing accommodations and our administration costs to administer all of those exams are increasing. So we have decreasing revenues and increasing costs in admissions. This fund, if you'll recall, in the 2022 adopted budget, we did budget a significant deficit in 2022, and it's in a very similar position in 2023. I want to highlight really quick the reserves for admissions. It's projected to end at about 2.9 million in 2022. That's obviously not sufficient to fund 2023. So what we are going to do is the legal specialization fund is the subset of admissions, and they have a very, very healthy reserve balance of about 6.6 million. So we're going to transfer that reserve balance into the admissions fund, and that's going to help fund 2023 admissions fund operations. So that'll get the opening 2023 reserve balance for admissions to about $9.5 million. After 2023, we're going to be in the same position with very deep, very, very small reserves to go into 2024 for admissions. Again, we are evaluating and we have proposed or discussed, I should say, to this committee earlier throughout 2022 some program recommendations for program fee increases, but those haven't been finalized, they haven't been approved, and those results really are just not going to impact admissions until 2024. So our first step that we wanted to do when we were building the budget was to see if we could develop a budget that didn't dig into any reserves. Is that even possible? We did some preliminary assumptions to do this minimal spending budget, right? So we said, let's try to be cost neutral with no reserve spending in the general fund. We zeroed out most of the expenditures. We only kept that what was absolutely necessary. We incorporated those salary savings of 50%, which has been the historical trend that we've had seen in the past couple of years. We had no employee travel at all. We decreased sub-entity and board travel, sub-entities to travel 2 times per year, board travel 4 times per year. Prior to this, everything was in person. And then no new professional services at all were budgeted, except for those that were already encumbered. For admissions, it was a little bit different. This office has a very unique, they're very unique in how they perform their core functions. We assumed that they would have the same spending as last year. And that's because, they do need to spend a significant amount of expenses on professional services, temp help, and travel to administer the bar exams and different programs that are under the admissions budget. So our beginning assumption was, maintain the same spending for prior year. No new positions, however, and no additional professional temp help or travel expenses from what they had last year. So, trying to do a budget that had no reserves spending wasn't viable. It was not unrealistic. This is where we got. If we didn't budget any of our outside of our absolute necessary expenditures, this is what we had. We were close in the general fund to almost break even. We had a small deficit of under 100, about 100,000 or less. Admissions funds, as you can see, with no new additional expenses from prior year, they were still at a deficit position of $7.5 million. A little bit under $7.5 million. And in the general fund, right, this did not include any professional services for the 2201 spending programs, and really no IT projects, no new IT projects. So being that this was not a true realistic budget based on our needs, and in order for us to be able to run our operations, we did a revised budget, which I'll present in a couple of slides, and that's where we are today. So we asked, offices to weigh in to give us their input. Leah and my team reviewed it, and we basically made adjustments. And one of the key assumptions that we made was that we would spend no more than 50% of the general fund reserves in 2023. So that was about $5 million. We would not use more than $5 million of our of our general fund reserves, with the rest, the other 50%, to be used in 2024. So this is where we are today. This is our revised current budget as of today. And these are some of the assumptions that went into the general fund budget. We have the COLA fully funded for 2023. We have that 15% salary savings that we have historically met. We did have an increase of about $1.2 million in personnel expenses, and that was because we added, largely we added 4 new positions in OCTC, the Office of Chief Trial Counsel. We had a pretty significant increase in services of a little bit over $4 million, and that was really mostly due to IT projects, the outside counsel spending, and the 2201 program. We were able to achieve a little bit of decrease in building operations, but this is really because we budgeted in the Office of General Services, we only budgeted 6 months of building operations instead of the full year. So doing that helped us decrease our building operations by net overall just under $500,000. Again, we included for IT the bare minimum spending to support the highest IT priority infrastructure projects. There's a lot more that probably should be budgeted, but we just went with the bare minimum. And with those considerations, with these assumptions, we right now are about $5 million deficit spending in the general fund, and admissions, there really wasn't too much change in the assumption. So they're at about $7 million. All of this to say that we don't have an increase in the pipeline. Without an increase, not knowing what our building, if we're going to be able to sell the building, when and how much, if we don't make significant cuts in personnel or our operating costs, we just will not be solvent by 2025. So we are in a pretty dire position, and the considerations on the next couple slides, and I'll just skip straight to them, that we want to ask this committee is to help to give us feedback and to really give us guidance on all of these issues that we did incorporate into the budget, but that, given our financial position and how tight it is, do we want to spend the level of reserve spending that we budgeted 50%, about $5 million? Do we want to keep sub-entities and board travel? Do we want to have no staff travel, which is currently not budgeted at all? No staff travel is budgeted in our current budget. What do we do with our IT projects? Should we have a moratorium on any new projects? Do we do a moratorium on other general fund offices? Is it smart for us to budget only 6 months worth of general service building operations, with the expectation that it will sell in the later part of 2023? We gave OCTC 4 new positions, but given our financial situation, our deficit spending, should we add those 4 positions? And then later we can, after these discussions, we can go into the sale of the LA building. Do we keep it? Do we sell it? Should we accelerate the sale? And does the timing of the San Francisco building sale impact that decision? So maybe we can start with our first point. Maybe that's okay.
Thank you, Ms. Montoya Chica, for that presentation. I just wonder if anybody else on staff, Leah, if there's anything else that you may want to add to this, or
No, I think it's good to start with kind of the first question, because it informs a lot of the rest of the analysis. Just sort of what are you all comfortable with in terms of the level of reserve spending? And I'm not sure I heard you, Araceli, indicate that, we think it's going to be about $10 million. That is our reserve, but it may be less.
Yes, so I'll stop sharing my screen. So yes, I wanted to make this point. Our ending 2022 reserve is projected to be around 10 million, a little bit over 10 million. Those are based on preliminary numbers. We have a lot of adjustments to do, once we close the books for the full year. We have a lot of adjustments, a lot of accruals that could impact that reserve level. I don't have a good number to provide to you guys right now. It's the first week back after December, and we're barely starting to close our books. So there is a possibility that the reserve balance will actually be lower once all the adjustments are made and our books are closed. So, we should keep that consideration in mind, that the reserve that we have, about $10 million, could be lower than what it is today, which means if we eat 50% of it, if it's, let's say, 8 million instead of 10, so now we're talking about, 4 million. So something to consider for sure.
Very good. All righty. Thoughts, Finance Committee members?
Well, it's not good. I guess I'll start with that. It's probably as not good as I can remember. I don't know, Leo, you may correct me on that. I guess a couple of questions. What chance is there of a fee increase in the next cycle? I know I'd heard some rumblings about the sale of the LA office, but I don't think there's been any crunching of numbers in that type of thing. I mean, it's a very premature preliminary sort of idea that we're going to sell LA. And then I'm wondering, has there been any interest shown in the San Francisco building?
On the first one, I would say, if you just take at face value the various statements that have been published in the press, by various members of the legislature, it wouldn't appear that it's very likely at all that we would get a fee increase for 2024. The board will be considering our legislative priorities at the January meeting. And at that time, you'll have the ability to direct the inclusion of seeking a fee increase in our legislative priorities. Right now, it is not. And I think the challenge has been, in the past, when we seek a fee increase, there's a pretty negative set of reactions to that. And we want to, seek a fee increase when we're feeling confident that we might be able to get a fee increase. That being said, it just may be irresponsible at this point for us not to seek a fee increase given the reality that we're in. So I'd say it doesn't seem very likely at this juncture, but the board will have to make a decision about whether or not we pursue one regardless. In terms of the LA building, right now, we sort of internally as a staff team, as we developed an operational plan to complement the board strategic plan, have identified 2026 as the year to consider or evaluate whether or not the LA building should be sold. So when RSLE talks about accelerating that conversation, I mean, it's a natural one to have, given that we are primarily working remotely. So I think accelerating the analysis of the sale makes sense, but we have not crunched any numbers on that. That's more work to do. And in terms of the SF building, it just formally went on the market at the end of last year. And I think it's fair to say there's been anemic interest, but we won't really know anything for a couple of months.
Other members? Comments, questions, Mr. Tony?
I like the idea of, taking a hard look at sharpening our pencils, and I like the moratorium on new IT projects. I know I think that's an area that not today, but at some point merits further discussion. Because I think it's an area that's a lot of money being spent. And I don't understand why we need to be spending so much money constantly on new IT. But I would like to at least consider a moratorium on new projects. I understand that current IT projects must be maintained and that there's costs associated with that, because some of that is third-party maintenance and contracts. I get that, okay? But I do think that's an area to consider. And I'd rather do that than defer the OCTC hires. I would presume that those are critical hires that are necessary for us to be able to start to bring the backlog down. That's my understanding of those hires. And that's something that I think is an expectation. So I don't want to cut that. So I think we need to do what we can to, and then, it also begs the question with admissions. I'll say that if we have less number of people taking the bar, the numbers have gone down, then I think we ought to look for ways to reduce the spending in admissions and look for ways to have fewer of the, hotel spaces and things like that. Look at how do we, I mean, if the numbers are lower, we ought to figure out a way to lower our expenses.
Can I ask Mark on just this sort of general overall question of what % of the reserve do you feel comfortable? Let's just stick in the general fund budgeting for 2023. We've proposed about 50%, as you heard Araceli, it may be different if in fact our reserve balance is lower, but do you have any thoughts on that initial question?
It'd be more to me, I'd want to keep it closer to a third if we could. I understand that there's some need temporarily to go into some of it, but gosh, you always want to reserve. Any organization wants a reserve, and it's important. They're unexpected expenses. They're going to be unexpected expenses that aren't reflected in a budget in 2023, just like we had some in 2020. That's just how it is. So I want to leave some wiggle room.
Okay. And just so everybody understands, if we were going to achieve that, for example, we'd have to cut the budget you see by about 2 million. And right now in IT, what we have funding for is there's no sort of project related funding. And those initiatives include the Client Trust Account Protection Program, the Public Trust Liaison. None of that is funded in the budget that you see. So if you're going to cut it back further, you're cutting back our security, our hardware. So that's the IT budget. I would say it's very bare bones as it is in this document that you see. So we're going to cut 2 million from what you have. Then we've got to go into sub entities, board travel. We've got to go into the OCTC positions. I mean, that's where you're going to get 2 million. So again, it becomes very difficult, but I want to kind of make sure everybody understands that.
Mr. Knoll.
I think this is the kind of discussion that has to be had at the board level with decisions made. I think that it's that sweeping in its importance and in its decision making. What do we fund in a priority versus another priority? There are in Ms. Montoya Chico's presentation, there was I think there were 10 items, and the 10th item was something like unusual spending costs for discipline cases. And we've talked about that. And I think that that is very much a possibility as one of the liaisons, or maybe could not be a possibility. We could have that money and we could bring it back into the savings or into the reserve, or use it for something else. Generally, I agree with Mark's approach, except for this. I am appalled that poor Leah and her staff are not in the cloud yet at all, it appears, with their massive number of files and things that really need to safely go to the cloud. And I saw that as one of the things that they wanted to do. I don't think there's anything requested by anybody in this budget that's not realistically important. The question is, what is the board going to do in deciding? I would guess that the first thing people on the board would have to agree with, whether they wanted to or not, is that we have certain litigation costs that are our responsibility. We must fund the various departments that are doing litigation on behalf of the state bar adequately. But that includes what Mark indicated, the idea of key positions that need to be filled. I mean, that's in most places, like the state bar, about 80% of your budget are people. I don't think doesn't seem to be quite true with state bar, because they have so many other departments and things that do certain things, not all about people. But as somebody who has operated on a negative budget for at least the last 30 years, it's not necessarily abhorrent to me, because there are also possibilities to add to the reserve, depending on the way the year plays out. We budget for a bunch of people, but we only get 3/4 of it to come on. There are ways that the budget will fluctuate, and sometimes it can be in our favor. But I think it's very important for these items that are making us think about which one would I want if I had to pick one. I think all those have to be laid out for the board. And the board has to take a look at those, understand that we support this layout. This is the truth. This is what's happening. And we have to now make the calls on what we are willing to do. I also want to say at an early stage how much I agree with Leah that we are fast getting to the point that we should all be kicked out of office if we don't ask for a fee increase. A fee increase, whether we get it or not, it would be irresponsible looking at what we're looking now if we don't ask for one. And we have to get to the point where we really get that consultant we're talking about and figure out a way. Maybe it's different people, I don't know, approaching people in the legislature and giving them an in-depth explanation of why it is so important that we get fee increases. And I think, for everything, for, in admissions and in licensure and all that. That's just an aside right now, but I think it can't be talked about enough by people who are going to consult us, on how we do certain things. And this could be the first big test. How do we go back to the legislature and talk to them in a way, hopefully they'll understand. And maybe it should be some of us that in the past have maybe complained about a fee increase or two. So that's my view. I think when we go to the board with this discussion, I don't care how long this goes. Well, of course I care how long it goes, but this discussion really needs to be laid out by the staff in a way that's easy for the Board of Trustees to look at and say, wow, okay, let's open the floor and let's get started about what are our priorities and how much of a deficit do we want to spend and lock into. And I think that's the test for the staff over the next few days.
Other members of staff have additional sort of comments? So here are my thoughts. And I know that Araceli and Leah, you posed a set of questions for us to sort of contemplate as a committee and provide some direction to the staff as we go into the full board meeting relative to this. And my thoughts are these. I think it's imperative that we look at a number of different scenarios as it relates to the budget. All right.
Absolutely.
And I think that the scenario that the options that you put before us right now are basically an austerity program, and then some. I don't even know if I want to call it a middle of the road. I'll just call it, an incremental sort of attempt to try to deal with some of the pressing needs that we need to make sure that we deal with in a way that is as pragmatic and prudent and doesn't eat too much into the reserve. But here's what it is that I would suggest. And I would suggest that based on a couple of thoughts. One is that I don't necessarily believe that 6 months worth of general services operations sort of budget into the budget is, I'm not sure that we're going to sell the building within 6 months. And so it seems to me we have to build in more than 6 months of general services budget into the budget. I'm not sure, as Greg just indicated, and I know Mr. Tony doesn't necessarily agree with this, but I'm not necessarily sure what we are forgoing in the way of IT by not, how that helps us from an effectiveness and an efficiency standpoint down the road by, having some additional sort of, IT upgrades, those sorts of things like that. I'm not exactly sure what they are, but I'm not sure by not budgeting anything for IT, if that actually is helpful to us or is a hindrance to us. And so I guess, and then a salary savings rate at 15%, although it does appear to be that there may be some historical trends in that regard. I want to make sure that we aren't forcefully holding positions open in order to achieve a salary savings rate, positions that may be in OCTC or in other critical sort of places within the bar, in order to achieve that salary savings rate where it's hurting us because we aren't being as efficient, as effective, and as productive as we should be. And so my suggestion would be that we have maybe 3 different scenarios. Okay, a scenario that takes into account eating into the deficit, eating into the reserve a little bit more. If there was an additional increment of general services spending, what we might do in the IT framework, if our salary savings rate wasn't as high, and maybe that is, instead of $5 million for the general fund, maybe we eat another $500,000 into that. Whatever the staff deems priorities, we should have the budget that you presented to us, which is this incremental budget. that is before us. And then you should have a budget, I think that Mr. Tony has suggested, or at least alluded to, which is if we were to try to maintain a larger reserve, that would require maybe some cuts. So it would be somewhere in between that austerity budget and that incremental budget. All right. And so that's what I see is probably three different budget scenarios. And I also agree with Mr. Knoll that I think it would be, I don't know if this is a legal term or not, but I think it'd be more practice on our part if we did not ask for a fee increase. And we did not at least have that discussion with the full board as well as with the legislature, at least to begin to prime the pump. I'm not sure how other members sort of feel about what it is that some of the direction I'm suggesting, but I in summation, three different scenarios, one that eats into the reserve a little bit more, the budget that you presented, that is the incremental step, and then one that makes some additional cuts so that we can, the full board can see what that all means and what its implications are.
I think that's good, Arnie.
Yeah, that makes sense, I think.
Justin, I saw Justin's hand first, Mark, if that's okay.
Yeah, I just wanted to provide some context on the different budgets that we prepared, and the amount that we prepared, where it says it's about $5 million difference than the total bare bones budget, which really isn't viable because it doesn't include enough professional services that we're obligated to. We just didn't have open POs for. But the amount we have for the general fund budget there is $96.4 million. If we only go a third into our reserves, we will actually have less expenditures. We'd be down to about $94.5 million, where our expenditures this year were in the $95 million range. And we will have paid for the COLA. So we already aren't increasing enough for the COLA. We're making cuts in IT. We're making cuts in general services. To go even less into the reserve means we will make even more cuts. I mean, our IT budget is less than it is next year in this reduced or reasonable budget. It's less than it was this year. And so those are the types of cuts that we'll have to make. And at some point, as Trustee Knoll mentioned, we are a largely service organization. There won't be projects and things to cut. It will have to come down to people in seats. And that's where we'll have to kind of achieve those savings. I will also make one update to Trustee Knoll is that we have gone to the cloud largely. We are in SharePoint. We have done a lot of those things. We are paying for them now, but we have transitioned to the cloud in a lot of our IT.
Good. Well, Justin, if I may, Mr. Chair, just on this, Justin, when you mentioned we go and we make cuts in IT and in this department, do you mean cuts in one-time expenditures of hardware or software, or do you mean cuts in the personnel that are in those departments?
So far, we're not trying to cut personnel. We are trying to cut everything that we can. Any professional services projects we've delayed, and not just IT, but other offices. In the professional services, we've cut a lot of projects, and we've cut a lot of temporary help and casual hourly help, other help that would normally come in to assist with operations. We've eliminated in these budgets.
I get it. Thanks, Justin. That clarifies things for me.
Mark, Tony?
You're on mute, Mark.
Yeah.
Can we get IT to help Mark on this?
I'm telling you. Okay, well, let me tell you a couple of things that I'm encouraged by. One is I'm very encouraged that we're having this meeting now, so far ahead of the board meeting. I really want to appreciate everybody who put this together, because it gives us a little bit of time to think. It gives me time to think. This is tough to figure out. And I'm willing to, to look closer. And I know that part of the challenge is one of the things that really helps. And I know that Araceli did provide kind of a projected balance, but that's not even a trial balance yet for the previous year. And that it's, when I hear, and Justin, that was very useful to hear from you and insightful to hear that a lot of these figures being proposed in 23 are actually cuts from 2022. I don't know that I completely realized that. So thank you for clarifying that, because that makes a difference to me. Here's what I want to suggest. Even though I had been thinking about and was talking about presenting more than one option, I think that honestly, and I hope you will accept me kind of like thinking in real time, I think that the obligation of committees like finance committees is to kind of do the hard work and to come to the board with one recommendation. That's the honest truth, I think, of the best practices. And so I almost would like, and I don't know if having, even if it's a day or a couple days before, but I don't know if that would give Araceli a little bit more time to have a little bit more information on how we're ending 2022, a little bit more information about the size. And if it's impossible, you can tell me, Araceli, okay? But what I'm trying to do is be thoughtful about our colleagues on the full board and their time. And maybe, I'm certainly willing to be flexible on some of my thinking. It just helps. I'm so glad we're meeting now. But anyway, I don't know what you think of that, Chair Sowell, but if we could possibly figure out a way to come in with one proposal after we've looked, I think our colleagues would appreciate that.
Well, one thing we could consider is not presenting the budget to the board at the January meeting. But instead having the finance committee meeting in January where we bring back the options to you, and then scheduling a special board meeting in February to approve the budget before the due date of the 28th. That we did that last year. The only downside is you're getting polled now, if Louisa hasn't gotten you yet, about another special meeting in February. So this would be 2 special meetings in February, and the timing would not work to try to combine the meetings. So, it's an imposition on the board that I want to be sensitive to, but that's certainly something that we could do.
I am not necessarily opposed to what Mr. Tony is presented in trying to, try to narrow the scope and have us come in with a recommendation. I guess my question is, so our obligation is, as you mentioned, Leah, is by the 28th of February that we have to have a budget submitted to the legislature. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's right.
Um,
So if you tried to schedule another meeting, we'd have to do 10-day notice. It doesn't give us time to turn something around for the board meeting, even if you wanted to. So I think the only feasible way to do it is to have the finance committee meeting on the 19th or whatever the day is of the, our next finance committee.
yeah.
We have a full discussion. We could also have a discussion at the board meeting so that you could get, we could have the full board's input. But then we'd have to schedule a separate meeting to approve the budget.
Yeah.
if unless I'm hearing some objections from committee members, I'm comfortable with that approach. I do want to make sure from the staff standpoint, Araceli, that you feel like that timeline will give you. I mean, I know we still may not have anything definitive, in terms of actuals, but would give you the ample time that you need in order to run some of the scenarios that we've put forward.
We can certainly run scenarios, but just so the committee knows, our policy in finance is to close the books normally by the 20th of the following month, right? Our meeting is January 19th. Obviously December is, and normally we achieve that throughout the year. December, however, is one where it's impossible for us to close by the 20th. It's just not, it's just not possible. So, we obviously have more time. There's a lot of adjustments, a lot of, trying to get everything in that belongs in December, accruals, adjustments, valuations that happen for OPEB and pension, all that happens, at the end of the year. So we will certainly, try to get a lot of the payroll stuff in, the payroll's done, it is what it is, right? But there are certain open items that even by the 20th, normally we just don't have now.
Okay.
So keeping that in mind, that's kind of what we, right?
So-
We have to post the agenda item prior to the 20th or the 19th. So
So if I could
Yes.
just run
Mhm.
through this one more time, just to make sure it's clear for me, and hopefully, and maybe some other members already got it, but we would have a finance committee on January 19th or 19th, probably. All right. At that finance committee meeting, we would run through the various scenarios that have been put forward, and the committee would then make a recommendation to the full board. We would take an action to make a recommendation on one of those scenarios.
I don't think so, Arnie. I think that's too early. I think what Leah was proposing is that we do that exactly what you said, and then we have a special meeting in February.
A special
maybe
final.
Discuss.
So
Right.
what, Leah, maybe you should go back over again, because I thought the special meeting in February was for the full board.
Right.
To
Oh,
discuss what we discussed on the 19th.
yes.
And well,
proof.
I think the idea is on the 19th, we're gonna bring you 3 options. You're gonna make, per Mark Tony, you're gonna make a decision about one to recommend to the full board.
That's right.
The board will receive that recommended budget. They'll also get as background material, the other options, right? And they'll be asked to approve a budget at the meeting in February.
Which is a special meeting.
Yeah, a second special meeting from the one you've already been told about.
I haven't been told about one, so why don't you tell me, what's the other one, Louisa?
Well, I'm sure Louisa will beg to differ. If
Oh,
she's here.
okay,
She's
okay.
not here, but I bet
I'm
she'll
here.
say she's told you.
Did you tell me?
I will, hi, this is Louisa. I will be sending a reminder today for that first special meeting in February with a poll.
Aha.
Louisa, is there any way that when you send these out, you can somehow let people know if they've done it or not? Because like, I think I done it, but now I have no idea if I did or didn't.
Yes.
Let us know, please. Thank you. Help me. I just don't remember.
So I know we've been going for a couple hours, almost 2 hours now.
I've got 11 o'clock.
Yep. So does the staff feel like they've gotten the direction that they need for the finance committee meeting on the 19th of this month?
So yes, what the 3 scenarios, we have the one that I presented today, and we need to develop 2 more.
Correct.
One that uses less, one that uses more from where we are today. Yes.
Okay,
Three budget.
Does the committee, do you all want to agendize the budget at the board meeting, not for approval, but simply to, for example, get the board's take on some of the issues that you will have discussed earlier at the finance committee meeting
Yeah.
earlier that day?
I would say yes, if we could make it relatively, try to make
Sure.
it. I think this is in keeping with Mark Tony just said, because I would like the board, the full board, to at least have a little bit of time to think about what's been presented. Because I think Mark Broughton said it earlier. I mean, this is a big deal, and it's not a pretty picture,
Yeah, he's right. I mean, these are very intense decisions that imply that somebody gets something and somebody doesn't.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a big deal.
So if the committee is okay with that direction as well, Leah, I'd like to take you up on having the full board have let's try to get it parsed a little bit, but some discussion. So at least they aren't walking into a special meeting, completely cold.
Okay.
And Arnie, maybe you have to talk to Ruben and get it set up so that you're the person that sets up what you want the board to talk about. But in terms of taking it from what we've done. This is where we are. We're going to make a recommendation, but we want to hear from you about this, and we want you to think about this, because this is what we're thinking about in making our recommendation to you.
You got it. You got it.
Great.
Are we okay?
I think so.
Right on time.
All right.
Perfect.
Any other closing comments, remarks, questions?
Can I just ask, really quickly, Arnie, because I know you had kind of given me your feedback. Staff travel right now, we have 0. Do the members have any opinions on, yes, keep it at 0 because of the dire position you're in, or yes, it'd be nice to keep it at 0, but is it realistic? The reality is no, some individuals will have to travel. It's just a matter of, how much do we set it at?
Yes,
Well-
that is correct. And that's what I'm looking at in that scenario that eats into the reserve. a
Okay,
little
where we can,
more is, but let's be prudent and pragmatic about that. I mean, that's not just, any and every conference that's out there and other sorts of things like that, but just, some rule of thumb. I mean, a 0 staff travel means that Aline would never be coming up to San Francisco.
Yeah, I think even in the budget that we consider the middle of the road budget, this is reminding me of like Goldilocks and the Three Bears or something, but the middle budget, we need to amend it slightly because it has to, if we have sub-entities meeting in person ever, we absolutely have to have staff travel because staff the sub-entities. So I think, Araceli, we can figure that out, how to present that.
okay.
And let them out.
Well, and one major way of saving money is to say that all of our meetings are virtual. I mean, the governor's extended everything through 2023. The amount of money we save doing virtual meetings is remarkable.
Right, that will certainly be in the Mark Tony version, but the governor only extended it through June.
Oh, through June.
So
But I
that's
think-
one of our challenges, although it doesn't mean we can't do virtual meetings, but it will require people to post their address.
Yeah,
So that's the issue.
people can have my address. You can't find me anyway. Well, I just think that there are things that we shouldn't ignore that are kind of obvious money savers. That's all. But you guys have done a great job, and I think I think the committee will be ready to duke it out on the 19th and beyond.
I think the fact that we are looking at different options is important, and whatever we decide will be deliberate and be thoughtful. And I think it's a good decision-making process to give us a little bit of time. So again, I want to thank everybody for setting this up ahead of time so that we're not stuck only meeting the same day of. I really appreciate it.
You got it.
All right, thanks, everybody.
Thank you,
Thank you
everyone. And
Bye.
we'll call that an adjournment.
Bye.
Thank you.